What's going on, guys? Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com bringing you a video today to discuss the brand new Puma 1, specifically the top end 17.1 variation, and even more specifically what I want to talk about in this video is what the release of the Puma 1 means for the direction moving forward of the Puma brand. And of course, I do have a pair of Puma 1s on the way. I don't want to talk too much in regards to performance characteristics of the shoe, because obviously I've never tried them. I've never even held them in my hands, but I do have a pair on the way. So stay tuned for more Puma 1 content on the channel very, very soon. But anyways, I want to start this video off with a simple question that you can answer yes or no. There's going to be a little pop-up in the corner of the screen that will reveal a poll, and I want you to answer yes or no to this question. Are you legitimately going to consider the Puma 1 17.1 or the Puma 1 line as your next pair of shoes, or is it something that you're just not interested in at all? Yes or no, answer the question. I want you guys all to do it because I'm really, really curious what the answer is, even though I have a pretty good idea of what I think most people are going to answer. Because for me personally, if I was, let's say, 13 years old, on the market for a brand new pair of shoes and really interested in something from the big three brands, Nike, Adidas, or Puma, I can tell you right away that the Puma 1, even the top end 17.1 model, is a shoe that I would look at and quite simply not be interested in at all. And I think that is a really, really scary thing for Puma moving forward, not only because the Puma 1 is now their latest and greatest shoe, it kills off two of their lines. This is a replacement for not only the Evo Touch line, which wasn't around very long, it only had one generation that didn't do very well, even though I thought it was a really good shoe, and the Evo Speeds, which obviously has been around for a little while. It's controversial. I think they really hurt the Evo Speed line when they released the SL variations, the super, super light shoes that would only last about 10 uses or 10 games. A concept that I think is very cool, an experience that is very cool as well, but an idea that people just did not buy into at all. Nobody wanted to spend $300 on a pair of shoes that was only going to last 10 uses maybe, which is perfectly understandable. So the Evo Speed line was kind of tainted for that particular gamble that they made, but now the Evo Speeds and the Evo Touches are gone in place of the Puma 1, which the name 1 kind of implies that it's an all-in-one style of shoe, which is very much just a marketing thing. I don't think that any shoe in particular is best as kind of an all-around product in terms of what it has on offer. It's all a matter of personal preference at the end of the day. But what the Puma 1 does have on offer, I think, is something that is far too simple for today's modern landscape of football boots / soccer cleats. And you have to consider this. Puma is a distant third place in regards to popularity in comparison to the two big brands, Nike and Adidas. Not to say that Puma is a small brand, but I think it's very, very safe to say that far more people are more interested in Nike and Adidas's products rather than Puma. And Puma, they do have good products. The Evo Power line is excellent, especially their top-end models. Ever since it first came out up until the current top-end models, be it the Vigor 1 or the Vigor 1 3D, I think those are both fantastic shoes that if you're on the market for something outside of Nike and Adidas, the Evo Power series is definitely worth a look. But with the Puma 1, what they've essentially introduced is kind of a re-release or a reboot of the Puma King line, which has always existed. They have a Puma King available as kind of a more Copa style boot, but they did used to do kind of a every 3 years modern variation of the Puma King, and that's kind of what the Puma 1 gives me the impression of. You're actually going to see that it's a kangaroo leather upper. You also see that it has these little bands within the lacing system that actually come from the previous modern Puma King that was not the greatest shoe overall. So kangaroo leather for the upper, which I think is probably the wrong choice to begin with. Leather shoes, or I guess that style of shoe, the more traditional leather style of shoe, is something that is slowly falling out of favor. There are some great leather shoes out there. The Copa Mundial is excellent, the Nike Premier is great, the Mizuno Morelias, Diadora makes some awesome stuff. You can name a lot of good brands that are more focused around making high quality leather shoes, and that is kind of their following. You have Nike with the Tiempo Legend 6, that obviously is a very popular shoe as well. Probably the most popular modern leather boot out there. You have Adidas with the Copa 17.1. Not the most popular thing in the world, but a solid boot overall. But Puma hasn't really had the modern leather shoe. They kind of tried that with the Evo Touch, and again, it didn't really turn out all that well for them. So I'm really surprised that they're going with a similar concept with the Puma 1, because really I view this shoe as being very similar to that of the Evo Touch Pro in terms of being kangaroo leather on the outside and what is an Evo knit base on the inside. So it's a very similar concept. The difference here is I just don't think the shoe looks good enough. And obviously the appearance of a shoe, or the appearance of any product for that matter, is purely subjective. Everyone's gonna have their own opinion, so there's no right or wrong answer here. But when I see the Puma 1, I personally don't think it's a very good looking shoe, and feel free to leave your opinions on that down below in the comments. I don't like how they move the form stripe further back. I think that looks a little bit goofy. And the fact that they decided to make this a mid-cut shoe, but just have the mid-cut aspect being kind of straight cut, extended knitted material over what looks like it should be, should be a low cut shoe, I think just looks like more of an afterthought versus something that was kind of purpose built and designed to be that particular way. That's kind of what we're seeing with a lot of these modern shoes, is they look super high tech, they look super highly engineered. They look like there's a lot that went into the design. Look at the Nemesis, look at the Magista Obra, look at the Superfly, look at these new top-end models that I guess they give the impression of being very, very high tech, regardless of what you want to think about them. But I don't get that impression from the Puma 1. I think that's going to be a very big problem for them, because if they are trying to gain any kind of market share, close the gap with being third place behind Nike and Adidas, whatever order you want to put those two brands in, I think that they have to have a shoe that looks super modern. It has to look cutting edge. It has to be something that is interesting from a technological standpoint, which the Puma 1 quite simply does not have. It looks way too simple. It looks way too old school, if that's the right word for it, that I just don't think that people are going to go for this particular shoe. And I think that if you are interested in a leather shoe, something along the lines of a Puma King, you're again going to be more inclined to buy from some of the more reputable brands, some of the more popular models like a Legend 6, like a Copa 17.1, something maybe even more old school, like a regular Copa Mundial. Those are going to be shoes that I think more people are going to be drawn to versus the Puma 1. So again, that's a very worrying thing for me for Puma in regards to the success of this particular shoe. Now, it's only been out for one day as I'm making this video, so it's really difficult to say or gauge the popularity at this point. But again, leave your opinion in the poll on screen. I just don't think that most people are going to be interested in this shoe. So unless Puma has something coming out very, very soon, I think it's going to be dark days for the brand. The Evo Power line is great, but even that is still not the most popular thing in the world. I think it's an underrated shoe, but I don't necessarily see the Puma 1 getting the same respect that the Evo Power line gets. Even if people don't buy the Evo Powers, I feel like the boot enthusiast community knows that that's a great shoe, even if they don't buy it. So that's where, again, I think they've kind of made the wrong choice with what they've done with the Puma 1 in terms of the style of shoe that it is. I'm not saying that this is not a shoe that they can't have within their lineup, but it can't be one of two main lines that they have right now, because if you only have two lines, they better be excellent. And I really don't think that that's a shoe that people are going to see if they're looking at boots that represent the Puma brand and really be wowed by, really be excited about, because it's just too simple, it's too boring. And again, I just don't think that it was the right move for Puma. But let me know your opinions on this down below in the comment section. The only other thing to talk about, I guess, is the price point. It's retail on the 17.1, the top end model, is $200, which is a fair price. But again, too closely priced to something like a Legend 6, where I think if you're trying to decide between those two shoes, the $10 price difference that you have to pay for the Legend 6 as a premium is not going to deter you from buying that particular shoe. You're probably still more likely to buy a Legend 6 or a Copa 17.1 over a Puma 1 17.1, strictly based on the name. So again, what I'm getting at here is Puma, while they're a reputable brand, I think that they have to do something more over the top, more technologically advanced, more exciting at the very least, to get people interested. And the Puma 1, just to me at least, based on first impressions, based on how it looks, based on what that shoe has on offer from a tech spec standpoint, is quite simply too boring, not exciting enough. And I think that the younger generation is not going to be into it whatsoever. That's pretty much it though. If you guys have any questions regarding anything that I talked about in this video, leave it down below in the comment section and I definitely will get an answer out to you. If you have any opinions of your own, leave that down below as well. I'll be really curious to see what you guys have to say. If you guys enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all of my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. And as always, thanks for watching.